they are going to stray away from the carry, and looks like they are going to prioritize on the clean instead.
I rarely say this, but looking at both the drafts, I'm actually looking forward towards the laning phase because I feel like every one of the lanes, like the EXP lane, we have the Esmeralda as well as the Dire-Off, right? So I feel like every single lane, everyone has kill pressure. Now, we saw how RRQ plays. They will get the kill only if it's truly necessary. If it's not, they're not really going to go for it. We can't say the same for the side of Omega, so I really want to see, because all of the lanes have kill pressure, I do want to see whether this match will actually pick up the pace, or no matter what Omega does, RRQ will still control how they want to move around the map.
I don't know, but for some reason, looking at both compositions that both teams have opted to bring, I do feel like Omega has a higher edge in this next upcoming game.
Yep, I definitely agree. But without further ado, this is going to be the match coming in. Game 1 between both RRQ as well as Omega up on screen, as we are going to be looking through how they are going to be tackling the situation. Because as of yet, Albert is going to be playing on the ling from the blue side, whereas from the red side as well, Omega, they are going to be going for that textbook common standard drafts coming in. Is it going to be enough to deal with Albert's oppressive nature? Because as of yet, we do see Vin trying to go and harass Dero, but it seems like it's not going to be the Tamos jungle coming from Omega, whereas it is going to be the Dero jungle instead.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. But again, we saw how Dire-Off is super strong in the early to mid stages of the game. No matter which lane he goes to, he will apply the armor reduction, making it easier for you to get a kill. But speaking of kills, a lot of aggression coming on in mid, and I feel like Omega, they have to be careful of Vin right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are depending on like the way that they do it and like the timing that they do it, because from the composition that RRQ Hoshi brought to the table, I don't know if they can win in a full team fight, which I signal as a way that they have to really just snowball from the early game. But the fact that if Dire-Off is in that jungle position and can kind of like equalize on that aggression in that early, now that's going to be a problem for RRQ Hoshi.
Yep, seems like Albert is going to be going for the invades as well. The hook does not get the reset, so Omega is going to be able to secure the above as of yet. But I feel like in this situation, Omega is in a situation where they want to try and test out the theories with how Orange dealt with Evo's SG with the Dare-Off when they won Game 1 against Evo's SG earlier today. So I feel like this is a great testing grounds for them to see whether or not the Dare-Off matchup, is it decent and viable enough against a strong pro player such as Albert, who's playing Ling as of yet.
For me, I feel like the best way, well, my opinion, Omega, if they want to win this match, like what they're doing right now, put pressure onto R7, because if you give him space to actually farm up, especially now because he has a Purify, so he can stay in the backline for such a long time. If you kill him off earlier in the game, making sure that he doesn't get to that tanky point, then Omega will have a better time in the team fights.
Yep, seems like the fight is going to break down as well. The Real Omniscient already set up, anticipating the engagement, and that's going to be Win getting completely shut down. Our Albert is going to be able to get a couple of trades here as well. It's going to be 1-for-1, and RRQ not going to be forcing the trade, but that is a big setup coming from Omega, which didn't exactly pay off considering that they lose out Ryzen in the process.
See, but that was like a little bit of a trailer to come, right? The fact is that Chaknu wasn't level 4 yet, so he couldn't really like help E2 Max in that situation with the Fatal Links. But imagine if he already had it and they actually went for an engage like that. That would have been so detrimental to what RRQ Hoshi is trying to do.
Yeah, I feel like in this kind of situation, the game is slowing down a little bit, and it's almost like both these teams are trying to test each other's intuition, like based on the movement from the side of Ryzen as well as Albert. They're almost like trying to figure out how are they actually maneuvering around the map, trying to anticipate what's going to happen next.
Yep, this time Changnu, he does have the Fatal Links. He is going to try and scare him off. You can see RQ, they're resetting the total, and that's going to be the reset coming in from Omega. Meanwhile, Clay on the sides is going to get caught out, but the hook coming from Win from the sides, pulls Res to the turret. He will take him out, but they will lose Clay in the process. That's going to be two times now, different trades coming in across the map. But as of yet, RQ is still forcing the turtle onto the screen as well. Will Albert get it? Yes, he will. That's going to be the hook again coming from Win, catching off Changnu as Omega. They're getting chipped apart time and time again.
To be honest, I think that would have worked really well if Clay wasn't on the Lilia, right? Because like they're going for like this pick-off team fight type of strategy. Sure, Lilia has good clear, but it isn't as easy for her to burst down enemies unless they go into that mid-game. Whereas if they chose someone like the Kogura perhaps, I think that's a little bit more dynamic and it synergizes better to the composition.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, where even if he does get a hook, unless there's a lot of people there, they're not really going to burst things out very fast. But right now, looking at top lane, 3 members of Omega, is something going to happen here.
Yep, here comes the suppression as well. Changnu completely shut down, 3 snipes to the face, and Skylar will get the kill just like that. And RRQ Hoshi, they are going to super pump Skylar's farm as much as they can. Meanwhile, on the bottom side as well, we do see Renzio doing pretty well against R7 as of yet. And this Thanos pickup is just completely shredding his armor just because of the new buffs coming in.
Looking at this game right now, for the side of RRQ Hoshi, I'm actually looking towards what is their go button, because I feel like everyone already has their first initial items. I'm just looking at what are they looking for, because in terms of win condition, I do know that they want to wait at least 2 items on Albert, and then they can go crazy. Same thing with Skylar. But for the side of Omega, I don't want them to play super responsive. I kind of feel like with having a dire of jungler, if they go slightly a bit more aggressive, they could get a lot on the map.
Yeah, but it all comes down to psychology as well, because Ryzen has died multiple once now, and they pretty much lost a lot of fights. Even though, if you talk about composition when it comes to mage role, right, E2 Max do outrange Clay by a lot, and they understand that they can't abuse it, but considering that Ryzen has lost his earlier lead against Albert, they're a little bit hesitant to try and force the kind of plays, even though it's very, very much necessary. So this is actually working in favor of RRQ's composition, just because of how the Lilia is going to be able to pop off into the mid to late stage game. Likewise coming from R7. Now, turtle contest coming in this fight as well. You can see Omega, they're trying to force reactions coming from RRQ, but Vin is waiting for the right moment. The suppress comes in. Vin is going to get caught, Renzo is going to get caught out, but looks like they're not going to prioritize on going for the kills. It is going to be turtle instead, and it seems like Clay will steal it for the team, and now Omega, they will retaliate. They are stuck. They're taking a little bit too much damage, and RRQ will run him over. Renzo survives with 1 HP on this Thanos, and Vin is not trying to let him off the hook. Can he get the final hook? No, he does not. Maybe he will on the bottom side. And yes, he will get the hook. And that's going to be Win getting the kill on Ranzio.
That is like an RRQ trade all over the board. I mean, now they are with a 2,500 gold lead. And Omega, they're kind of on behind here. What can they actually do as of this stage, understanding that they are just squeezing Omega from all the last things that they can even do? I mean, you saw Vin just steal that gold from the side of Omega Esports.
Personally, for me, I feel like that was almost a wasted opportunity for the side of Omega, because they saw Vin already popping off the Bloody Hunt. So Atlas could go in, and then the rest could, you know, possibly initiate some kind of team fight, and they could have won it. But because the positioning was all over the place, they couldn't really capitalize the use ultimate from Vin.
Yeah. Now with the turret also going to be falling as well, Renzio is popping the ultimate trying to ego challenge this fight. He does have the sustains to walk through, but the rest of his teammates is a little bit too far off top, so he is going to retreat this and not fight this. Meanwhile, Vin still waiting for the right moment. He goes for the blind hook. He knows he's there. He gets the suppression. Skylar is a little bit too late to actually re-engage this, so Chaknu will be A-okay as of yet. Meanwhile, RQ, they are going to be heading towards the top side as well. 35 seconds left before the next objective. They are going to try and push up and set up map control up top instead against Omega.
Even though RRQ Hoshi is leading with a 3,000 gold lead, I feel like it only takes one moment for the side of Omega to be able to get it out. I do understand that there are some purifies on the board from the side of RRQ Hoshi, but we'll see how this pans out.
Yep, it seems like there is going to be concealed play coming in. They do catch on towards Vin, completely shut him out, but R7 is not looking to back out yet. He re-engages for the team, but they do get a 1-for-1 trade, tank for tank, and that is going to be the full disengage coming from both sides. So nothing super major yet. It's still a tank for tank, but map control is still in RRQ's favor. Look at this, Skylar in perfect position to completely going for the one-shot. Ryzen getting scared off a little bit more as well, and they're still deciding whether or not should they force the issue. The turtle being pulled back as of yet, but from the sides, R7 going for the catch. Kara a little bit into trouble as well. Real Magician comes in, but they're taking a little bit too much damage. Albert re-engaging, cleaning them all out. Double kill for Albert, and that is going to be RRQ from the side. But Ryzen waiting for the right moment from the side. He almost got it, but Vin, he held on his ultimate, caught him by surprise, and Omega, they get completely shut down. And the snipes from Skylar to clean it out, and Omega, they lose them all, and just like that, RRQ will come up on top.
I can already see what Omega actually has to do. They need some kind of map control, because looking at RRQ Hoshi, Skylar, the way that he's positioning, it's almost like the map is not dark at all. Like the map has no bushes. He knows exactly where everyone is. So whenever someone is trying to gank him, he knows how to retaliate. And for the side of Omega, looking at their positioning, it's not optimal for a team fight right now. It looks like they're trying for something, but is it going to actually pan out the way that they wanted it to?
Yep, seems like the fight's coming in. Omega getting a little bit smart. Very aware of what Vin is about to do as well. And you've seen multiple times Vin's hooks has been detrimental in towards Omega's side. You can see the fear factor is starting to come in from the side of Omega on how they take this engagement so far.
Looking at the itemization right now, they really do not have enough damage. The Clint already has 2 items over here, but not really enough space to do anything just because R7 as well as Albert could go towards him. And I feel like Omega, they need at least 1 more item on Ryzen or Renzi to really deal out the damage against RRQ Hoshi.
Yep, definitely agree, but the Lord will be taken down very easily coming in from the side of Omega, but 6.7k lead as of yet coming in from RRQ Hoshi means they are very, very oppressive. You can see the fear coming in from Omega as they have to play this as safe as they can to go in towards the power spikes. And in this stage of the game, what is the power spike coming from Omega into the later game? Where should they drag this out in order to come back against RRQ?
Looking at the player gold right now, everything is looking fine. But for the side of Omega, in terms of where the power spike is, because looking at the Thamos, his first item is the War Axe. He has enough penetration, but that is really good against squishy targets. I feel like going up against RRQ Hoshi, he needs, I don't know, maybe a Demon Hunter Sword just to make sure that when he faces against R7, he can do a little bit more than that.
Yep.
I gotta say, I mean, Omega, they just need like the proper setup, right? Because last time around when we saw the Fatal Links get popped off, it actually hit onto the 2 core members from the side of RRQ Hoshi, but the problem is there was no follow-up. The way that RRQ Hoshi is trying to engage on the team fight, understanding that they can't go full 5v5, they try to split it up, and when they split it up, that's when Omega falls short. So somehow, somewhere, Omega Esports just needs to be able to group them up. But at this stage, how is this going to be achieved?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to do so as well, because in terms of wombo combo strategy against the Fatal Links, the real elimination doesn't do a lot of damage now, considering that RRQ Hoshi, they do have the Radiant Armors up available, so it's going to be very, very risky to do so. They need the perfect 5-man Fatal Links as well as the Abyssum Strike to allow Kelra to try and shred through all the armors coming from Hoshi, but it's going to be very, very difficult considering how far ahead in terms of levels that RRQ Hoshi is. So Omega, their only way of making a comeback is only and only if RRQ makes one small mistake, which is also very difficult to do so because Vin is the one going to be starting the fight time and time again with his hooks coming in.
We need to see some Chalk Mamba supremacy here because their life depends on it at this stage, right? It's so difficult to catch them off guard, and I have to agree with you. It doesn't seem like RRQ Hoshi has been making mistakes. It's so very difficult to find a loophole, but maybe, just maybe, there is a way to maybe take them down one by one and try to look for some pickoffs, because we see whenever they go into this, we see that R7 goes in, checks map, or and so forth. So maybe that's something that they can capitalize on before they go in for that full 5v5.
In a way, I would say giving space towards Kelra is a mistake because there will come a point where Clint has 4 items where when Albert comes in, if he just like goes off just for a little bit, the Clint could possibly 2-shot him dead. So Omega, they're kind of okay just stalling out a little bit because there will come to a point where Kelra could immediately just take a 22-minute team fight, making sure that they get like just picking off on Albert and Clay, and then they could potentially end the game. So for the side of RRQ Hoshi, as long as they can control Kelra, whether Skyler could outrange him or anything, that'd be great. For the side of Omega, it's almost in the situation where, okay, since we do not have map pressure, since they have 10,000 gold lead, don't even try to engage. Just wait for them to engage because in a way, that is the way that they want to play. So just wait, and then eventually things will work out. Being patient is important, Athirna.
That's true, that's true. Omega, smart Omega, they are known to be very momentum-based, really relying on Chakdu, but also they are very Kelra-centric. So one of the things that we need to look out for, like Lafel mentioned earlier, is to wait for the proper setting, the proper setup for Kelra to be able to dish out most of that damage, and of course that combo wombo that comes in with the real-world manipulation. But as you can see on screen here, that board is just going to be shrunken down so quick as the damage is inevitable here from the side of Omega.
Yep, Skylar will finish off the inhibitor up top with those long-range snipes, but you can see the discipline play is coming in from Omega just to make sure to try and drag it out as long as they can, and they understand that they cannot do anything about it. And based on the itemizations up on screen, as you can see, they're slowly trying to drag it out to the 6 max item slot power spike in order to try and trade 50-50 with Hoshi, but that's going to be a very drawn-out game so far, and I feel like RRQ Hoshi, I don't think they want to let this happen at all.
I feel looking at the itemization from Clint over here, the damage is actually going to be pretty good. Already having the Endless Battle, the Berserk Fury, as well as the Malefic Roar, he can definitely dish out the damage. It's just that for the side of Omega, what are they worried about? Are they really worried about Albert, or are they worried about Skylar? Because as of right now, every single time RRQ Hoshi shows their face, Omega is actually retreating. So it does look like they want RRQ Hoshi to overextend and fight in their own base. But looking at how RRQ play, I really doubt that will happen. Right now, at 11,000 gold lead, RRQ really does not have any reason to do any kind of crazy flashy plays. They could just wait it out. Eventually, even the minions could end the game.
But even despite that, it does seem like Clay actually bought that Necklace of Endurance. So they are 100% respecting the potential that, of course, Omega can have. And interestingly enough, E2 Max actually has the glowing wand. So they're looking for a little bit more damage here, a little bit more DOT. And maybe that's exactly what they need, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It all comes down to execution and also stalling for time. And right now, RRQ Hoshi, they can play super safe and still win the game, but not too long, just because of how oppressive Vin can be, right? Omega, the reason why they're playing safe is because they don't want to be caught out of position because of the Iron Hook, and they've lost so many fights because of Vin's setup, and they cannot afford to lose as of yet, because slowly but surely, the timers are going to kick in, but it seems like they are going to force the issue, and this is the big hook coming in. Renzio popping the Vengeance, and they're forced to fight the fight as well. R7 going to be re-engaging from the sides, as you can see. They're all chunked up, and Omega, they don't really want to fight in this choke spot, but no, the snipe from afar from Skylar is going to beam him out, and that's going to be Changdu and Renzio taken out of the equation, and this is exactly why Omega didn't want to force the fight, and that's the beauty of what the Franco brings to the table.
Man, that was huge. A 2-0 trade here for the side of RRQ Hoshi, and now Skylar, with that double kill, is sitting at a 4-0-2 stat, as compared to Keller, who is still sitting at a 1-1-2. And the fact is, Keller has actually opted to use this killing spree, and so far, they haven't been able to capitalize on that.
RRQ Hoshi, they are countering Chuck. They're countering the Alice, but look at that hook, managing to get Ryzen off there. And right now, RRQ Hoshi, they are 5-man strong for the side of Omega. 2 members are still down. Renzio just awakened, but still, RRQ Hoshi looking super strong, making a lot of hooks happen with Vin here.
Yeah, this is just so good coming from RRQ Hoshi. Like, you can't actually blame Omega for not being able to do anything, because one right hook, and like we say this about time and time again, you miss 10,000 hooks, as long as that one hits, it is going to turn the tide. But in Vin's case, he's hitting almost every single hook. So that's going to be very difficult to play to. But as you can see up on screen as well, the items are slowly heading into the 5th item progression. But with the Lord coming in, is he going to be able to be stalled coming from Omega? As you can see, Renzio is trying his best to clear on towards the Lord pit, as RRQ trying to get a little bit more on the side. The hook doesn't seem to connect, but Omega, they're clumped up onto the crystal. They're trying to force the fight. Here comes the Atlas coming from the backline as well. R7 still being very oppressive, but the damage coming from RRQ Hoshi is just a little bit too much to handle. And Omega, they're falling like flies, but the overextension coming from RRQ is going to allow Kara to dish out damage. He's taking a little bit more damage, but this is going to be the first blunder that RRQ has made. R7 is still going to keep it alive. They do take on Kara and also take down the crystal. So RRQ Hoshi is going to be able to secure game number 1, despite almost losing a little bit too much on team fights.
100% RRQ now leading the series 1-0, and this gives one more opportunity for Omega to finally show what they're made of. But one of the things that I'd like to highlight is that I do believe that Smart Omega, they weren't as smart as I thought in terms of that drafting, right? I think they let too many power heroes let open for the side of RRQ. I mean, allowing Skylar on that Beatrix, giving Vin that Franco